Hello and welcome back to Come Over for Dinner. I'm Bess Hawthorne, and this episode continues my conversation with Jemima Dixon. If you haven't listened to part 1, go back 1 episode so you can hear the whole conversation. Stay tuned for part 2. I'm so glad you're joining me today. So what does hospitality look like for you, and how has it changed? And just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good question. That's probably something I'm still trying to figure out in a big way. So we did last school year in Michigan, and then we're here for the summer, and then we're going back to Michigan, but to a new Michigan place. So it's very, where are we? What are we? What are we? What are we doing?
Where are our possessions?
Exactly.
Where is my knife bag?
I don't know where that is right now. Oh. I thought I was in my car, but it's not.
When you get pulled over, instead of checking for a concealed gun, there's
right.
I have this roll of concealed knives.
Exactly.
As a weapon.
Yeah. So I think last year we were really blessed in the place that we got was fully furnished, and I kind of had everything there that I needed to.
So the kitchen was furnished as well?
The kitchen was furnished. The kitchen, my one grievance with the kitchen is it had a carpet.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a terrible decision.
It was. It was a real bad decision.
That reminds me of the time we rented a place and we had young kids and one was potty training and there was carpet in the bathroom. Oh. I mean, the entire bathroom. All the, just nicely surrounding the commode. And it's like, what? Whoever this was did not ever have children or company.
Up to the shower?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The whole thing. Like, this is a really bad decision. But anyway.
That's terrible.
Your kitchen.
Yeah.
Had carpet.
It was kind of a multicolor carpet. So the tomato sauce blended nicely. But I think that I think that one was relatively easy to do. Hospitality, I would, like you said, I would do online teaching. I'd finish that. I'd be wrapped up by about 1 p.m. So if we had company over, that was kind of, I could switch fully to that. I think so. As a Christmas gift, I had Margaret December 26th. So first half of the school year, I was still mobile, able to run around at the drop of a hat. After Christmas, it's definitely a whole thing. So my mom, as a Christmas gift, got me a Walmart delivery subscription.
That's a fabulous present.
It was beautiful. Yeah. So that's kind of probably been the biggest lifesaver of you just throw the order in and then
they bring it to your door.
Exactly. You finish up teaching, go bring it in. And then, but I don't know if I have any specific tips. I mean, right now it's hard because we're in someone's basement right now, which is also another. With that, I don't know. It's probably been a little bit more. We're just having family over this summer because, you don't want to parade strangers through someone else's house.
Through someone else's basement.
Not the kindest thing to do. But
although they probably would not mind.
Probably it'd be fine. But,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if I have any.
It is hard when your space is constrained. Not only is it somebody else's place, but it's also smaller than you would, like, say, if you had your own little house or a yard or something like that.
Yeah. The smaller lack of seating or dishes that work with one another.
What is that called? Shabby chic or something like that? Where the mix and match. I don't know. Maybe getting the terms mixed up. It seems like that
eclectic.
All kind of came together around the same time where you could go and collect different place settings and different colors. And what were the different colored kind of stone-like dishes that made that real popular?
Oh, I don't know.
There was a name to them. Anyway, you could buy the blue or the blue setting or the red setting or the yellow setting or the green setting. There are all these different colors and mix and match.
Do some mixing.
Yeah. It was kind of fun. I don't know. That might still be a thing. But
I think probably the biggest, like I said before, just scheduling things out definitely helps with the craziness aspect, because then you can also factor in Margaret's going to need a nap, or she's going to need to eat, or, that sort of a thing, which is just really Yeah.
And that kind of tells you when you should, what arrival time they should
yes, absolutely.
be told as well. Because if you're needing to feed the baby at 6:30, well, you don't want to say 6:30, that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
I think for me, when we moved here, to Moscow, Idaho, we rented for the first time. We had owned a home. And one thing that I learned was in a small space, on here we talk a lot about, big hospitality, big groups, and big cooking and recipes that, will serve a crowd or whatever, which is all great, and that's hospitality too. But one thing that I had to realize and be okay with, which I'm always okay with small get-togethers, but it's okay if I'm inviting just one family over or a couple over or... and it's just more of like 8 people sitting around the table.
Yeah.
And one thing I've really liked about that is with a smaller group, you actually get to visit with those people more.
Yes.
If it's a big group, you don't get to visit with all 20 people very much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
And you do get to talk to them and maybe in a bigger group, but not really catch up on each person's life.
Yeah.
But if you have, say, a group of 8, you can just kind of banter back and forth across the table all together and hear a little bit more details about what's going on with them or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's
always a puzzle. Yeah.
That's hospitality too, and or having family over and just, and it's casual or you're eating on paper plates or mix and match dishes or whatever.
Yeah. We've definitely probably veered more towards having, young couples or maybe one of Aiden's classmates over. But it's just kind of like, when you're in someone else's space, someone else's furniture, you're like, I don't know if having a bunch of kids over is kind to either party right now. Or just because
you're trying to take care of the things and you don't want to be nitpicking over somebody's
and you want them to
toddler
have
with
fun.
sticky hands.
Exactly. You're like
climbing up with shoes on the chair or whatever.
Right.
You don't want to have to police.
Right. So you're like, I don't think soon, but right now it's probably not the gift we should give.
It's more it's more of a specific thought, like you're saying, college kids, college kids, college adults, young adults your age, or other couples your age.
Yeah. So that sort of has probably been more where we're at. Yeah. And our house was not very kid friendly. So, you know.
Yeah, if your baby's not even crawling yet, nothing is childproof anymore. No. I mean, not that I'm saying you have to go around and, put foam, duct tape
but
foam
there's
everywhere.
Just exposed staircases.
There's a lot of things.
Chokeable items down low. Yeah.
I've had that thought from being years away from raising tiny kids.
Oh, yeah.
If I had a crawling baby in my house or a toddler, I would just be thinking to myself, well, I mean, hopefully before they came, I'm thinking of it, but they would discover things that I never, I'm just not used to thinking about. Yeah. The least of which would be the exposed electrical socket they can go and put their hands in. But I would definitely be much more kind of aware of what they're doing and where are they, because I don't want them to hurt themselves or discover something I hadn't even thought about, oh, there's a knife down low. Speaking of knives.
That's where we put the magnetic strip.
Right. Who knows? I haven't had toddlers in 20 years.
Right, yeah.
So actually it's been maybe 15 years. But anyway, it's been a long time. Anyway. On that note, what is one of the favorite things you would serve when you do invite company over? Give us one of your favorite menus.
Okay. I feel like this is maybe a weird one, but I think I'm still kind of like in that moment when you're kind of experimenting, like what works. I do a lot of recipe testing. My hack right now is I found a really solid dinner roll recipe, which I'm like, if I can nail the dinner rolls, I can experiment over here and at least I have good rolls. And that's kind of my big thing I'm doing right now. Yeah.
They will love these dinner rolls. They will
love the dinner rolls.
It'll make up for everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, but we have to have this recipe.
Yeah, but those are nice because, you make them first and then they just rise and, you can get that out of the way 2-3 hours. And if they overrise, who cares? that much
Bigger
fluffier.
and fluffier.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, they cook for 15 minutes. So you do them first, you do everything else. And then just in that cooling time, you throw the rolls in. And then you could have your hot dinner rolls, which that's been a really big thing that I've been doing. But yeah, I feel like I actually probably experiment with main dishes the most. Mm-hmm. And so having a classic staple Caesar salad and then the dinner rolls, I think are my kind of...
Your go-to two things.
Those help me out.
Figure out what you want to play with that week.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of fun because you really are building your family's favorite.
Yeah.
Which is going to be different than what you grew up with. I mean, obviously, a lot of the things that you bring with you, Aiden will like.
Yeah.
But he grew up in a different home with different recipes. Yeah. And so figuring out what together is your family favorite.
Right.
And then as your kids grow up, that's kind of a fun thing to figure out.
Yeah. So that's probably like my most staple thing that I make when people come over, which I know is not a main dish, but it definitely helps me out. I haven't cooked this for guests, but I probably would, like a really solid cheesy mac and cheese, which is it's fun
a main dish.
Yeah, but it's just like a fun surprise, and it's just kind of like immediately I feel like
a comfort food that most people don't cook homemade.
Right, exactly. And it's fun. It's kind of a little bit more playful, and I feel like it's probably tension breaking if you've got
and that salad and rolls. That'd be good.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you ever put meat in your mac and cheese, like diced ham or anything like that?
That was a marital bump for sure.
This is where your worlds collided.
This is where, because that was Aiden really likes those little tiny. What are they? The little tiny hot dogs.
Oh, I recognize that marital bump. From days long past.
We all have it.
Little Smokies?
Yes.
Oh,
Smokies.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Fry those up, chop them up, throw them in the mac.
And put them in the mac?
Yes. The sad thing is it's really good.
You learned the error of your ways.
Yeah, but
I was thinking it'd be like pizza where you did half and half, okay, like this half has it, this half does not. But you decided it actually gave it some flavor.
It did. I put it on the top and then it just kind of like really crisps up and it's surprisingly good.
Okay.
Just, it's sad, but
sad but true.
It's sad.
And every kid will devour it.
Right. But you just feel insulted putting Smokies in your food.
That's great.
But yeah, so that was, I feel like my family always did ketchup on mac.
Mm-hmm.
I've always objected. I've never tried it.
The ketchup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done ketchup. I might have tried it.
Yeah. I just can't. I can't put Smokies and ketchup on my mac.
That is maybe a step too far.
Right.
Do you use your own recipe or do you use Grandma Bessie's recipe?
I kind of have been sort of experimenting around. It's like a 3 cheese mac, I think that's really good. It's also slightly spicy. It's got some paprika in it, which is really good. Yeah, it's not. So Grandma Bessie's is Velveeta, I think, which this is not Velveeta. This is...
You're grading... I almost said real cheeses. But
yeah. Well,
I don't know,
yeah,
Velveeta
real
might
cheese.
be considered... I don't know. I'm not sure what Velveeta is. It is creamy when you melt it, and it is called cheese. But
exactly. I think we're all scared to look.
Yeah. I don't know about the ingredients, but...
Yeah.
But it does make a mean mac and cheese. I've had Grandma Bessie's at the Grace Agenda block party.
So good.
It is good.
Yeah. No, this
one a different kind of mac and cheese.
Yes. Yeah. No, this one is pretty good. It's just, one of those wonderful comfort foods that's magical.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, and I also have a brownie recipe that's another consistent winner,
A dessert is always a chocolate dessert is never a bad idea.
No, just isn't. Yeah.
Okay, well, this sounds like a great menu.
Yeah.
And one that we're going to have to collect the recipes
there you go,
for.
Yeah.
And post on comeoverfordinner.com. Oh. You'll have a blog post, so it'll be under recipes and her name, Jemima Dixon, and then the index will have the different recipes too. Your little Smokies story, just as a side note, another rabbit trail, it made me think of the time when I was first married, when Brian grew up. His mom had a garden, and she did lots of vegetables, and I'm not sure if she grew her own cabbage or if she bought cabbage. Who even knows? But they often had cabbage and cornbread and corned beef. I mean, you hear of corned beef and cabbage, cornbread.
Yeah.
I had never had corned beef. And so he wanted me to make this. Don't know anything about buying corned beef, but I'm told it's in a can. You know, I guess in England they might call it a tin.
It's one of our culinary terms.
Yes. Well, this is where the culinary, I don't know, nose in the air ends. Because when I got home and opened the tin, the inside substance was pink.
Oh. I don't know what corned beef is.
I guess it's similar to Spam. I mean, I don't know anything about how they do it versus Spam, but the color really threw me for a loop. And so I did make the cornbread, and you steamed the cabbage. And then the way his mom did it was you sliced the corned beef and put it on top of the cabbage, which in her generation, I totally understand that they did so much hard work, so much gardening, so much homemade things that when canned foods came out, like my grandma was the same way. I mean, she had all these amazing recipes. It was huge when cans came out. It was like such a convenience and such a time saver.
Yeah.
And things like, you know, cream of soups or the canned meats or I remember when Hamburger Helper came out, that company, it was just like, and nobody thought to.
The promised land.
Yes, the promised land. Nobody really thought about the ingredients. That kind of came later. Yeah. Regardless, this is how she did it. She was an amazing cook, and the food she made was delicious. But I dutifully made this meal. We sat down to dinner, and I was like, I just can't eat a bite of that meat. So I think I ate cabbage and cornbread. And maybe at some point I worked up the courage to try it. And eventually I did learn that you can buy an actual cut of meat that is in a brine that is like, maybe it pickles it a little bit or somehow it's some kind of brine. It gives it that color. It gives it a reddish, pinkish color when you slice it. I learned that, and I went and I bought a real corned beef, not in a can. Okay. I mean, maybe what's in a can is real. I mean, it is real, but it's not in a can. Yeah. I'm cooking it respectably. Is what we'll call it. A respectable hunk of meat. Yeah. You put it in a pot, which also sounds really weird because you're boiling it. But who has ever boiled a cut of like a roast in your entire life? I've never boiled meat in my entire life.
Very weird.
This is a long time ago. And maybe now people cook it in the oven. I don't know. Yeah. It was delicious. It's absolutely delicious. The recipe, I'll have to post a link. And maybe I've mentioned this on here before. I don't remember. If I have, it's been a while. But there was a certain company, and if I said the name, I would totally mispronounce it. But I'll have to put a link. Their recipe on their corned beef package that you could buy that had the way that you boil, how long you boil, is a slow cook, and then at the end when the meat's done, you take it out to rest and you add potatoes, carrots, onion, simmer those, add your cabbage. Anyway, it's kind of this complete meal at the end. You slice your corned beef, have some cornbread, butter on the side. Yeah, it's phenomenal. Really, it is so good. I mean, the kids devoured it. Like we had to portion out the corned beef. It's like you can only start with, X number of slices.
Start with one serving. Yeah.
You can't just get half your plate corned beef and a few potato, then you see potatoes but no carrots or cabbage, so it's really good. I want to say it's a German meal, but I don't know.
It sounds German.
Maybe. Yeah. So I'll have to post the link to they have a whole website and some recipes on there. Okay. And after that, I always ate the meat because it was really good.
As long as it's not from a can.
Yeah. It's like, okay, maybe what they did is cook it and put it in a can.
But still, it
was my first experience of seeing meat that was not colored like meat.
That was when I was in in the depths of morning sickness.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
Aiden was...
I probably was too.
Yeah. Well, he was being a champ, and he was like, I'll worry about my own dinner. I think he probably made me some rice. And at my request.
Right. Yeah. I remember those days. Just scrambled eggs, crackers, whatever.
Yeah, right. And I was just laying on the couch, and he fixes himself up chili mac.
You have to see and smell this.
It was like box mac, chili from a can, and I just remember him sitting and just stirring it with his fork, and just the sound.
Oh no! If you weren't morning sick before, it's now kicked back in. Oh.
Yeah, that was a dark day.
After that, you had to have some rules laid down.
Yeah, I was like, you don't eat your chili mac near me.
Oh, my daughter, she had a baby, her first baby last summer, and she was so sick. And
oh no, I think I heard stories.
Yes, it was bad.
That's rough.
Her husband, whenever there was meat cooked, it had to be grilled. Like it just, or either he had to leave or she had to leave. Like one or the other. Right. Either she had to be in the bedroom with the door, closed tightly and no smell, maybe towels under the cracks so no smells could come in, or he had to go outside and cook, rain or shine. Like,
not in the house.
He's just not in the house. So it's going to be really bad.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, good times. Good
Great
times.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a delicious menu. And if you think of any of your experiments that have turned into just absolute favorites, then you'll have to let me know and I can post those because I love finding new recipes that are just immediate hits, like family favorites.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't turn out that way, but every now and then you hit on a gem.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have any shortcuts or time savers that you would use with this menu? And I think, honestly, your time saver that you mentioned before is your timeline. I mean, it may not necessarily be a time saver, but just that really, really would help you to plan out your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is there anything that you would use, just maybe thinking through having a baby and things like that, the ways that you would prep ahead of time?
Yeah. Timeline is a big one. I think rules are great because those are just, you do them, you toss them to the side and come back to them later. So that, I really like that. I guess maybe I've already said this sort of tangentially, but just filling up those little small breaks just with cutting, dicing, and just throwing that in a bowl just to the side. Or if I've got like a spare 2 minutes, I'll throw all the spices together in a bowl, that then, measure them out, put them in a bowl so I can just dump them.
And all of that could be done the day ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Shredding your cheese and, just covering each bowl with your plastic wrap or a lid and pulling it out the next day.
Yeah, I guess I'm still like, I've got one baby who's not yet crawling, so I'm sure if you give me a month, I'll be like, oh my gosh.
I was prepping and then all of a sudden she disappeared.
I thought I had it in the bag.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are probably my best ones. Probably go to culinary school, learn how to cut quicker.
Learn how to dice really fast in case you have to chase the baby who's disappeared.
Yeah, exactly.
One hot tip for a baby in the kitchen, I mean, if you know where they are, know where they are underfoot, but also a little low drawer that they can get into.
Oh,
you know, like a drawer that is a yes instead of all of them being no's.
Right.
But a drawer, I remember mine having a drawer they could open and there were like measuring cups and little measuring spoons and safe things, none of the glass. Yeah. I had to learn that the hard way because I did have glass pitchers in a bottom cabinet and, a little crawling person would open the cabinet unbeknownst to me and then just, this interesting handle here, you know, and chink.
Smash.
Yeah, and then glass is shattered and I'm racing and thankfully no glasses on the baby. But I soon learned no glass pitchers in the bottom, but also a little drawer of things and things that you might not, like just lids and what else? Like they had like mason jar rings and
I think my grandma had one of these
like that.
I remember distinctly messing around. And then when I was older, there was always a baby sitting there. stacking and
Digging
unstacking.
things out,
There's like
putting
little
things
plastic
back.
funnels, maybe
Yes.
strainers.
Yep.
Yeah, great stuff.
Of course, then when they tire of that and you turn around and they've disappeared, that's you have to run.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm worried about Margaret. She's very quiet and very busy. Like, that's
With mine.
deadly.
Yes. The deadly thing with mine was there was always lots of noise. If it got quiet,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you dropped everything.
Right.
If all of a sudden, 'cause I have 4
Something.
boys and a girl,
Oh,
but especially the boys.
Oh.
If all of a sudden you realized, oh, this is just so peaceful, just such a nice, peaceful moment, alarm bells immediately. Run, take off, find them. What is happening? Something bad.
Oh, no.
They're up to some mischief.
Right. Right.
What is your best prep tip when you're getting ready to have people come over?
It's a good question. For me, probably like setting the table kind of on the earlier end. So that's something I can completely forget about. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've sort of learned just cloth napkins, I feel like make a big difference in terms of it just immediately elevates and feels more put together, you know?
And a little
Not
more
that-
special.
Yeah, not that I'm above paper napkins. I use those all the time. But normally with company, it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe I just like setting the table to look pretty. But
Well, and cloth napkins, you can just chunk in the wash so
Yeah.
easily.
yeah.
I mean, there are some that are real fancy materials. But if
Sure.
you buy the cotton ones or
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know, I would suggest cotton over polyester because the polyester, when you wipe your hands, it doesn't,
Yeah.
I don't know, absorb.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorites?
Cotton, definitely, probably. Yeah, the polyester. I have some really pretty polyester ones, but they don't do their job,
Yeah,
which is sad.
it is sad.
But yeah, like cloth napkins and a tablecloth, I feel like go a very long way. And then, you can get away with serving mac.
Yes.
And nobody
And
cares.
it still feels a little elevated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do
but
you use, oh, go ahead.
I feel like it's just striking that balance between like not completely casual, like something, but then not too formal where people feel all sit up
Stiff and
straight and
stodgy.
everything. Yeah. So it's just kind of like make it fun, but make it also relaxing at the same time. And I guess I use table setting also as kind of a piece of that. So if it's a more elevated meal, maybe less on the table setting.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
An interesting idea.
Yeah.
Do you still use your tablecloths and napkins that you might have registered for your wedding, or have you picked out some fun ones that you have purchased? Like, do you have some favorite shopping places, or no, you just registered for them and still use those?
I mean, I still use my registered ones, but I really like my registered ones. So Williams-Sonoma, I think. I've got some matching table runner and napkins. Napkin rings. I like napkin rings.
I don't think we've ever even mentioned napkin rings on
Really?
here.
Well,
Unless I'm just getting
allow me-
old and forgetful.
allow me to be the
I
first.
forget about napkin rings.
Yeah.
Did you register for napkin rings?
I don't think I did. I think I just got them as a gift, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
No, I did. I
You
did
did?
register for them. I just got
have
cuter
some
ones
in
as a gift.
drawer.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I forget about napkin rings.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I bought some from Pier 1 when they were having a sale or something.
Yeah.
And I just never used them.
Yeah.
So how do you they're just circle napkin rings. You just put do you roll it and put it in the napkin ring, or do you have some fancy way of doing it?
I take the napkin, I take the center and I poke it through, pull it through.
Yeah.
And then I just put it on the plate and it feels fancy.
It is very
it's
fancy.
even less work than folding a napkin and it feels fancy.
And napkin rings take up almost no space in a drawer or cabinet.
Oh yeah.
They're so tiny.
Yeah. Zero space.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to find some cute ones and put a recommendation on our shop page.
Oh, absolutely.
And that way we can have a few cute choices.
Yeah. There you go.
Before we move forward, a big thank you to the sponsors for supporting today's episode. Are you searching for hands-on activities to help your kids explore the practical side of science? Look no further than Your Kitchen. Inquisicook blends food science and culinary arts into an engaging program that puts delicious food on the family table. Let Inquisicook do the teaching with lesson videos, reliable recipes, and assessment tools that put students on track for success. Their online platform is easy to navigate and optimized for mobile, so the learning experience can move from the classroom to the kitchen without a hitch. Inquisicook turns curious students into intuitive cooks, not just recipe followers. Say goodbye to the tyranny of the ingredients list and say hello to utilizing what's in season, what's on sale, or what's in the fridge. Visit Inquisicook.com to view sample lessons, then check out the recipe gallery to see just how crave-worthy science can be. Today's culture shifts like sand, but New St. Andrews College is established on Christ, the immovable rock. The college is a premier institution that forges evangelical leaders who don't fear or hate the world. Guided by God's Word, equipped with the genius of classical liberal arts and God-honoring wisdom, with a faculty dedicated to academic rigor and to God's kingdom, New St. Andrews College offers an education that frees people. To find out more, visit nsa.edu. What is your best advice for making people feel welcome when they walk into your home, besides your cute table that you have set with your napkin rings?
Yeah, my super cute table. Yeah, I think probably just being prepared myself to be a little bit less, you want to have your attention a little bit off the cooking and a little bit more geared towards, Aiden's great. I also have Aiden. That's another helpful tip to receive the guests.
He's a must-have kitchen item.
Exactly. Him and Margaret are great, welcoming. Yes. And I guess the layout of the house that I was in was weird. So you walk into the living room and then the kitchen is kind of open to that. So I'm sort of right where they walk in. And then on the other side of the kitchen is the dining room, which definitely meant you couldn't trash the kitchen because everyone has to walk through the kitchen to get to the dining room. So that was definitely like, if I'm in the kitchen, I'm there when people walk in the door, which I suppose depends on your layout. But I guess, yeah, probably just being a little bit more planning to be sort of in the past, everything is on a burner right now and I can't step away.
This is another very important reason for a timeline.
Yeah, but it also factors into like what you're cooking. Mm-hmm. And normally I'm mixing the brownies at this point when they walk in, so I can pull dinner out, put the brownies in, and walk away to eat.
Right, because you might want to have hot brownies.
Right.
Versus ones that have just been sitting there for a couple hours.
Right. Yeah. I guess I could also make cold brownies, but
they're not as good.
No.
Hot brownies are the best. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love hot brownies, but if worse comes to worse, I love having frozen cookie dough balls because you can throw those on a cookie sheet at any time and have immediate hot chocolate chip cookies. Well, you can have other varieties as well, but I always freeze chocolate chip cookie dough balls. And you can even just put them out on a cookie sheet ahead of time and kind of let them defrost and then cook them at your regular 10 minutes at 350 or whatever your recipe says. But you can cook them from frozen. You just have maybe cook them a couple minutes longer. Sure. I always just eyeball it because, ovens vary a little bit on whether they cook hot or not. But
I think it'd be hard for me to not
the best.
Yeah. It'd be hard for me to not just eat the cookie dough.
Yeah.
But
you have to hide it. Right?
I guess if you freeze it, that's harder.
It's surprisingly easy. It doesn't get rock hard. Ask me how I know this.
It's a little cookie ball gumdrop.
Oh, yeah.
You can just suck on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Max has discovered this as well.
Oh, right. Oh, dear.
He sometimes sneaks the cookie dough ball.
Yeah. I
so
guess.
Either one of those options is good. Would anyone like a frozen cookie dough ball or a cooked cookie dough ball?
Some appetizers and dessert.
There you go. Now we've turned this into a multi-course meal.
Multi-course. It's called cookie dough themed.
How can we pull this into the dinner? Maybe we can slice the cookie dough.
Shave it.
Sprinkle it.
As seasoning.
There you go.
That's a great.
Shave it on top of the mac and cheese.
with the Smokies.
Oh. I'd forgotten about the Smokies up until now. This is going to be a fun recipe to write.
Yeah.
I'm going to be laughing while I type it.
Yeah. I guess it's not very novel. Having drinks that you can hand out at the beginning is probably.
What are your favorites?
Classic.
Do you do something like wine, or do you do sodas? What do you do?
Yeah, I like wine as a good server. Fresca is great. That's kind of, I don't know, is Fresca really popular? It's pretty good.
I've seen it a lot up here, and maybe it's changed, or maybe I just wasn't in my area. I had never heard of it in the South. I don't even know that you can buy it in the South, although times may have changed.
Yeah.
In the South, it was always Coke products.
Yeah, I like Fresca. I feel like it's not as known, so it's kind of a fun surprise to get a Fresca. It's like, oh, this is new. San Pellegrino. I mockingly call it this because I don't know how you actually pronounce it, but Schofferhofer. It's like a beer brand. It's like a cheerleading beer. It's very girly, and I love it. It's like,
do they have different varieties? I'm guessing. Or?
I think so. I normally get the grapefruit. Is pretty good. It's so good.
I have had that. It is delicious.
It is delicious.
Served ice cold.
Yes,
you have to have it really cold, and it's a little sparkling or bubbly. Is not quite a little fizzy.
Yeah, it's cheerleading beer is what it is. Yeah, that Angry Orchard, I also really like that. But a lot of people like hard ciders. Maybe Guinness as well, if you
if you have a little bit of a variety, then
right? Yeah,
whoever your audience is, they can choose what their favorite is.
Yeah, but I don't know how you pronounce it, but I call it Schofferhofer.
Schofferhofer. That's German, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is.
So I have no
German.
idea how to pronounce it either.
I think it comes in an orange box. That's what I can tell you.
It's a 6-pack, and you can't find it everywhere. So if you need to call around and say Schofferhofer,
where's the Schofferhofer?
I not be able to help you, but I could probably put a link to this, and so people can at least see what it is, because it is delicious.
It is so tasty.
Yep, I bought that recently, and it's very fun for summertime. It's just because you said grapefruit earlier, didn't you? The grapefruit flavor. It seems like it's just the perfect thing to have on a hot summer day.
Oh yeah, very fruity, very sparkly, very cold.
Great recommendations. Yeah. What are your must-have kitchen items?
Okay, this one. So, is it like a Y peeler or a speed peeler? Do you know what this is?
I have the OXO peelers, which I love.
I don't think I know what that is.
Well, the OXO brand. It's just, are you talking about like a vegetable peeler?
Yes.
But I don't know about the Y peeler.
The Y peeler? It's got a handle, and then it splits into a Y, and then it's got the peeler across it. And then instead of, I guess, going sideways, you just go straight down. And it's a beautiful invention. I love it. This was in culinary school.
They gave us, it goes so fast.
Yeah, it's crazy fast. Except sometimes the blade isn't on, like it's a little too wiggly, and or maybe it's not wiggly enough. Sometimes you can get a bad one, and then you'll think it's a bad recommend, but I promise it's a good recommend.
So you just need to, I don't know if you can adjust it, but if you could, or get a different one, go and buy a different one.
Yeah, but that was in culinary school. They gave us all the normal peasant peelers, but the chefs got the speed peelers. So I went and purchased myself a speed peeler because that's what they called it. It's I actually don't even know brand. It's just
as long as you get one that's like that, because you can hold it and just pull down over and over.
It's just, you're just holding it in a better position when you do that. So I'm a big fan of the Y peeler. Yeah, there's that. The other thing, this was in my knife kit. It's like a multi-purpose spatula, sort of a tool. And it's one of the things that's great is it's super heat resistant, because those rubber spatulas just melt in your food.
Yeah, you have to get one that says it's over 500 degrees.
Right, yeah.
Whatever.
I think this one is, I was looking at it on Amazon this morning. I think it's nylon is what it said, but it's like industrial strength. You can't burn through that thing.
And it is on Amazon.
I believe it is
similar.
on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually don't know what it's called, I think I looked up.
Industrial strength spatula.
Let me look at what I looked up. Hold on.
Yeah, I can totally put the link on the shop page and on your blog post too, so we know what it is.
I'm trying to. Yeah, it is on Amazon.
I've never seen one that shape.
Yeah.
Is that mat for Bourget or what does the top say?
Bourget.
Let me see.
Mat for
That is a fancy brand that America's Test Kitchen raved about their skillet.
Okay. Oh, right.
They have a black carbon, a carbon steel skillet that was like their top recommend. But that brand, I think, is supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
I have to look that up. But I've never seen one.
$15 Amazon.
I've never seen one quite that shape.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shape. It's like it's very flat and then kind of, if you can imagine, like a flat wooden spoon. And it's really good if you're stirring soup, if you're scrambling eggs, flipping pancakes. We made crepes with that. You can flip a crepe with it. So it's a very multi-purpose tool.
I do not have one that shape in my drawer.
Yeah. No,
that's something I have to go home and buy.
It's a weird looking shape, but it works really well.
Yeah.
So we didn't have, that was our only stirring anything. We had knives and we had that. And
it took the place of a stirring spoon. Most spatulas kind of have a square-ish rectangle head.
Yeah.
But this is more of a long rectangle.
Yeah. It's like long and then rounded at the end. But we baked with that. Okay. You can bake a cake with it.
That was interesting and definitely will go on the shop page.
Yeah. I think I Googled like flat plastic cooking tool. It brought it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I love it.
Okay, so we have shoes, the Y-shaped peeler, this very handy dandy spatula. Anything else?
I'm trying to, like, some other things, like a bench scraper is very handy, just for if you've got junk all over your counter, you need to just scrape stuff off really quickly. It's better than getting your whole counter wet. If you're dicing things, scooping and plopping, bench scraper is really nice for that. Obviously for making bread, that sort of a thing. I use it kind of for everything. They made us have like tiny little prep bowls that you could like dice a little carrot and put the dicings in that. I don't use that. Okay. I feel like
I was thinking like when you mix up your spices or something like that, that might be handy.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, very small, tiny little, smaller than a serving bowl, sort of a bowl, which...
one thing I found that I use recently, because I do not have teensy little separate prep bowls, I have started using my little ramekins. Because I do have ramekins and I don't want to get rid of them. And you don't use ramekins very much for... I'm trying to think of what I have used them for. I know it's different desserts that I've made in the past, like individual... mousse with some whipped cream on top, or maybe I've made some tiny little cobbler in them, or something where it's an individual serving, which is kind of fun, a little more time consuming, but I don't use them very often. And so they're kind of in a top cabinet, but I can barely reach up there. And I've found myself grabbing those out more and more when I do want to mix like some spices real quick, or I want to stir together a little oil and vinegar, or just something that I don't want to get a bigger bowl out for. So you can always multi-purpose things if you don't have a small teensy prep bowl.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we used them in cooking school because you're making something that serves two. Right. And so the amount you're chopping is minimal. But yeah, when you're having company over, you probably need
something a little bit bigger.
A little bit. I mean, unless spices, like you're probably totally fine with the spices.
Have those tiny ones coming in handy.
Yeah, so the onion dicings, probably you need something bigger.
Okay. All these items sound like great recommendations. Do you have a story, potentially from culinary school, to share with us?
Story. Yeah. Towards the beginning of culinary school, when I was still, learning how we're operating in the kitchen and
fresh off the plane,
jet
lag still lingering,
grieving about the queen, that sort of a thing. So we had one day we were supposed to be making French onion soup and a chicken jus at the same time. And the way they would do it is you'd have one class where you go in and you just watch the chef make it. And that was super great because you're taking notes and then you got to use those notes to recreate what the chef did.
So there's no written recipe.
No written recipe, but it was super great in terms of learning how to write a recipe. Was great. But but when they're making, and they would always make twice the amount of dishes that you were going to be making. So with the soup situation, they were making 4 soups, and you're trying to keep straight in your mind what's going on my recipe, what's not going on my recipe, So it was, my notes were a mess, and I go to cook this, and I'm supposed to make 2 different soups, and I don't know what a jus is, so I'm just clinging to my bad recipe for all it's worth. But I still don't know if I could answer a quiz over what a jus. What makes a jus a jus?
What is the essence?
What's the essence? I don't know. But you had to hack up some chicken parts with a cleaver. Brown.
Speaking of knife skills,
exactly.
The cleaver comes in handy when chopping a chicken.
Yes. Just make your jus.
I don't think I've ever had chicken au jus.
Yeah. But then you brown that. Then you add some butter to your browned pan. And then, you start adding other liquids, water and such forth. And then meanwhile, obviously on the other side, I'm making a French onion soup where you're working with, I think we used veal stock a lot, which is surprisingly wonderful.
I can imagine.
But I don't think you can get it in the States.
I haven't seen it in our grocery store.
Yeah, I think that's
more common in England.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm trying to keep straight what's going where. And the way they do this is before we start cooking, everyone gets portioned out your platter with all of the ingredients you're going to use. But then they have the common area for things like sugar. If you're going to use 2 teaspoons of sugar at some point, they're not going to divvy us all out 2 teaspoons of sugar. They're just going to
go and get it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a little bit up in the air what's going to be in the common area, what's going to be on your platter. And so I'm cooking my jus, I'm browning my chicken bits, time to throw the butter in. I grab my hunk of butter on my platter, throw that in there, and it gets stringy, like white and stringy. But I'm not in a good mental space to think something's wrong. So instead I think, wow,
this is what
British butter is weird.
Yeah.
And I continue cooking. And as I'm trying to make my jus, I keep putting more and more liquid in, and it just eats it. It keeps going dry. I just have chicken bits is all I have.
It does not look too appetizing.
No, not at all. And so then I'm straining it out to try to get my pure liquid, and I just get like maybe a tablespoon of really dark, rich, not good something.
Something that could be called liquid.
Exactly. But my French onion soup is looking pretty good. And I get that all assembled. I put my bread on top, and I go to grate my Gruyere on top of my bread. And I rush over to the common area to grab the cheese. And there's no cheese in the common area, but there is butter. And I'm like, where'd the cheese go? And they're like, oh, it was on your platter. I was like, oh.
Light bulb.
That's what happened to my jus. That's why it was weird and stringy. So yeah, I confused cheese and butter, which I'd like to believe is a more reasonable mistake than it actually is.
In the moment,
in
a very stressful moment, and probably a cold kitchen, because butter is hard when it's cold.
Yeah.
And so I could see this.
I don't think we need to justify it too much. It was a dumb mistake.
We can bury it in the distant past.
Yeah, but I usher my little plate up to my chef, who's this tiny little French man in a very tall hat. He looks at my little tablespoon of jus, and he's like, what happened? I was like, well, chef, I thought the cheese was butter. And he's like, no, that won't work. And I was like, oh, I didn't do it because I thought it would work, chef.
It's better than him saying, you stupid American.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He actually thought you were trying it. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, you thought I was being a little experimental. Yeah, but that didn't work. I think I had the same chef. I was trying to make a lemon tart. And again, it was the butter. The butter kept getting me.
Must look different in England. We'll give it that.
Yeah. I think I didn't mix. I thought the butter was really mixed in with my flour. But when I started to roll it out, it apparently was
It's like
not.
chunks of butter
Yes.
throughout.
Mm-hmm. And this is towards the very end of the basic certificate. And this chef is walking around asking us, like, are you staying for intermediate? And at this point, I'm engaged. I'm going back home. I'm definitely not continuing. And he's like, what? You're not staying? Why aren't you? And I'm like, oh, I gotta go get married, chef. And he was like, oh, okay. And he looks at my lemon tart that I'm rolling out. And he's like, Jemima, which is what they called me in their French accents.
Jemima.
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 Yeah. Like, do not make your wedding cake. Yes, chef.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, chef. I will
Okay.
not make my wedding cake.
Yeah, and I didn't.
That's
Yeah.
pretty great.
Yeah.
He was not complimenting your tart dough.
No, that tart was unfortunate, to say the least.
Big pockets of butter leaking out.
Yeah. I think that's the thing is most of the time you walk away thinking, I did not do good. Because it's your first time with a recipe.
Sure.
But
Well, and
you
in
probably learn more after having done it.
Yes. Well, in that kind of school environment, a lot of your first takes are going to be fails
Oh, yeah.
or just definitely ways that you could learn to do
Yeah.
better. And
Yeah.
so that would be a tough environment
Yeah.
to be growing in.
Yeah. But it's definitely also probably pretty good in terms of critiquing my work
Yeah.
and learning how to be like, oh, okay, different next time.
Yeah. Well, and doing it day after day. Did you go 5 days a week?
Actually, it was a really weird schedule. It was super not consistent. So there was there was 3 different time slots you could be in. I think like maybe 6 to 9, then one a little bit further in the afternoon, and then no, it was not. It was like 8 to 11, maybe 1 to 3, and then there was a 6 to 9 p.m. one. That one was brutal, but you'd either get booked for the 3-hour slot to do a lecture, or you'd get booked to do a 3-hour slot to do the cooking. But that was really hit or miss. So sometimes you'd go straight back to back from the lecture to the cooking. Sometimes you'd have a whole weekend in between it. I don't know what they were thinking with the schedule. But
It was just
sometimes I had 2 classes. Sometimes I had 4. It was weird.
interesting. So you mean per day or per week? Per
yeah.
week, yeah, because you would just do 3 hours per day.
Yeah.
That is
Well, you
interesting.
could end up doing 6 hours a day.
Okay,
It was just, I don't know why they scheduled it like that.
yeah.
But
So interesting. So you really had to kind of have a planner or phone calendar or something
Yeah, right.
like to know where you were every day and
Yeah.
what time you walk in, and that
exactly.
would be a little odd
Yeah, it was weird.
to not have like class start at the same time every single
right.
day.
Yeah. Mhm.
Anyway, well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having
and
me.
for taking time away from that sweet little baby, although
yeah.
she's in good hands.
She is.
Grandma Becca is babysitting.
Oh, yeah.
I have enjoyed hearing all of your tips and all of your stories, and I cannot wait to get this episode ready and get all of your recipes on the website and the recommended items on the shop page. So thank you, Jemima.
Yeah, thank you.
Until next time, bye for now. You can find more content from Come Over for Dinner, including giveaways, recipes, favorite kitchen items, and more on Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. These links are also on my website, comeoverfordinner.com. Are you ready for an adventure? Come explore an old abbey with Catherine Morland. Travel to Italy with Aeneas and discover hidden treasure with Huckleberry Finn. Join fellow students at timetravelersliterature.com to become a part of the great conversation as you engage with these books and enter their worlds. As you read and participate in class discussions, you'll gain a deeper appreciation of the unique historical, cultural, and literary contexts of each piece of literature. Courses are designed to enhance your reading skills and help you uncover the connections between different literary treasures. Classes for junior high, high school, and adults are available at timetravelersliterature.com. Until next time, bye for now.